Well, really, has it been so important to get a young person's perspective on this American election? Few have the scholarly strength of Michael McLaren. The views that he articulates and the values that he espouses are very much under siege. Just remember, Joe Biden was silent on Black Lives Matter, the defunding of police, the violence across America, and he embraces climate change without knowing really what he means. He's going to join up to Paris. As Bjorn Lomborg has said, the Paris Agreement will cost between US $1 trillion and US $2 trillion a year, making it the most expensive treaty in history. Then he wants to tax the wealthy. He hasn't defined who they are. He'll be 78 before he's sworn in. Clearly in cognitive decline. His putative Vice President, Kamala Harris, contested the Democratic primaries. She was so unwanted by the party, she pulled out before the primaries started. She didn't get past December 2019. She could be president. Let's go to Michael McLaren. Michael, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Hi,
well, Donald Trump got 5 million more votes than he got in 2016 and already has 2 million more than Obama got in 2008, which was the most in presidential history. What do you, as a young person, make of this?
Well, of course, it's something, obviously, that the Americans have to deal with. They've got their own version of democracy. I'm not sure it's quite as robust as ours. But, I mean, there's been a lot of analysis about the extra votes Trump garnered compared to 2016. And that's a very important point to make because, as Brendan O'Neill wrote in Spike just the other day, and I spoke to him on air, I mean, this is a guy that we're meant to hate. You know, I mean, the media, academia, every aspect of American polite society has been telling the so-called deplorables for 4 years that this is somebody that really is a white supremacist, in essence, a bit of a neo-Nazi. And to vote for him is a pox on your own house. And yet 5 more million, at least 5 more million Americans this time said, no, we'll stick with him, thanks very much. And, of course, Trump's vote, as you said earlier tonight, Alan, more than Obama's. I think what we really can take away from this election is I don't think too many people voted for Biden. There was a lot of voting against Trump. So if you put it together, Trump really has energised the better part of 150 million Americans to vote. He didn't quite, it seems, get enough to get him over the line, although that's obviously being disputed, may well go to court. But, you know, all this talk of, oh, Biden's brought out 75, 76 million, I don't think so. Biden can hardly bring himself out of bed. I mean, the fact is, I think Trump energised the left and the right, and I suppose if no other legacy, that's a very positive legacy for American democracy.
Unbelievable. What do you think Putin and President Xi and Erdogan of Turkey and Assad in Syria, what do you think they're thinking? Or do you think that I don't have to wake up today?
Well, if the US president doesn't have to roll out till 9, neither does they. But look, I don't think they're going to be losing too much sleep, Alan. The fact is, Trump had not just them, but even some of the allies in Europe, and this was fair enough. He had them on the hop. He was saying to the Europeans, now listen, you're part of NATO, but we're footing the bill. So the steel workers, the coal miners of West Virginia, I mean, they're paying for Germany and France's defence. And he said, no more of that. And that started to change. And obviously with China, we know what Trump has done. That's very much in Australia's interest. It will hurt us financially in the short term, but this is a long-term game, diplomacy, and he played it a different way. In the Middle East, he obviously was getting results where 4 decades of talk achieved very little. Now, Biden is, well, it's not the unknown Biden. We know what Joe Biden's like. There was 8 years as vice president. He's been in the Senate for 47 years. We know the playbook. I don't think it's going to change, and the results internationally were poor.
Well, that's exactly what Donald Trump said, didn't he, in the debate? Hang on, if all this is important now, what were you doing for 8 years when you were vice president?
Good line. That one stuck.
I know. And what about these city-based Democrats who had to vote by mail because they were terrified of Donald Trump's COVID, and they're now on the streets celebrating Biden's win?
Well, my wife made this point to me the other day watching the coverage. She said, well, how is it that all these people, particularly in places like Philadelphia, New York, some of these Democrat cities, how is it that only the other week they were insisting they had to vote by mail, and of course there's not quite the rigorous check and balance as opposed to on-the-day turn-up. And yet the moment their guy gets up, apparently, they're out in their tens of thousands, not all of them wearing masks, waving flags. There's something very odd about that.
Just a quick one before you go. You've done brilliantly. This is Michael McLaren, brilliantly. From Michael McLaren's perspective, where to for Donald Trump if he were to lose?
Well, look, if I was advising Donald Trump, I'd say to Donald, start up a conservative TV rival to Fox. I think Trump's got a bit miffed with the coverage of Fox during the election. Now, they were far more fair to him than any of the other mob, but I think he's got his nose out of joint with them. As you said, at least there's probably 71 million potential subscribers there. I mean, do the maths, they pay $200 a year.
They're not going to go away. They're not going to go away. A brilliant analysis. Lovely to talk to you.
You too, Alan.
We appreciate your scholarship. Very instructive, isn't it? Michael McLaren, back after the break.